The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
I think I've always believed in the paranormal, but the deeper I get in this field, the more questions I uncover. I started a program called Seeking the Paranormal in an effort to gain insight and dialogue from others interested in the same things as me. And while we've learned a lot together, the questions still remain. So I'm bringing my thoughts to the airwaves, and I've brought along my friends, Adam and John, to share in the fun. Together, we'll tackle the tough topics and debate the evidence as we continue to seek the paranormal. Okay, so let's dive right in. New part of the show. So excited. It is going to be Stump John. And we've got our great friend Darren here to help us do it. And John had no idea, which is the best part.
Yeah, I'm stumped already.
the look on his face.
Yeah, we'll win.
The three of us kind of conspired. I read some of Darren's questions this past weekend when I got to meet him, and he had some fabulous questions.
Why didn't you send me a copy?
My favorite question of all is, if a woman is pregnant,
okay,
and she becomes possessed by a demon, does the baby get possessed too?
Well,
this is not your question, but you can go ahead and answer it.
Oh, right. Well, you gave all this lead-in of Stump John and then came up with a question. I'm like, well, I think that's directed at me. Depends on what you believe, I guess. A, do you believe in possession? And B, at what age does the child get its own spirit?
I suppose so.
So, and C, what's the point of possessing a fetus? If you think about it.
Also a good question.
If the child gets possessed, I mean, how is that not transferred down to the fetus then?
Well,
if your whole body possessed with it.
Once again, depends on your theory. So, does the baby have its own soul? And can a demon possess two things at the same time?
That or else, at what month is it at?
Yeah. I have no idea. Well, I have my own beliefs on that, but they're just beliefs, so.
Right.
It's is it 1 cell, 2 cell, 8 cell, 16, and so on, Right. Does it start with the heart? And if so, why is the heart important to have a soul? True. And if it is important, then what happens to people who get heart transplants? It's a whole can of worms.
It got real deep there.
It did.
Ah!
All right. So we're going to start making this a regular part of Seeking the Paranormal. I'm really excited about it. Obviously, Darren is one of our 2 listeners.
I'd like to announce it's my last week.
Incorrect.
You can't quit.
All right.
You just brought a brand new bottle of Captain. You can't quit now.
That's true.
I can if I drink a lot tonight.
All right. Give us your best shot here, Darren. What you got?
Alright, so what are your views on shaman in an investigation, or I should say, what are your views on shamans, and what purpose do they have in the investigations?
Ooh, that's a good one.
For me, is this for me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's for you.
Alright. You gotta remember, I lean towards being totally objective, and it depends why you're investigating. If you're truly investigating, they don't play a part, just because their skills are subjective. They say they're shaman, they think they're shaman, they may be shaman, but their methods are not proven. So it's hard to use an unproven method to prove something if you're investigating. Now, on the flip side, if you're going to experience the paranormal, they're going to help you experience it. So
it's kind of like a psychic.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're going to set the mood for you. They're going to tell you things, true or not. I'm not attacking it. I'm just saying, whether they're true or not, they are going to set the frame where you are going to experience that place that you're in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does make total sense.
But as far as objective investigating, where you're trying to get something that matches to the physical world, let's say, I can't see how they can help that. because how they're doing it, until they get proven what they're doing is true, what they're saying cannot, mesh into anything that you're doing objectively, empirically.
Darren, did you get to sit in on Coyote Chris Sutton's talking at all this past weekend?
By himself? No, I did not.
No.
I totally missed his stuff. Was on the way home, the psychics were having their panel going on. So I did chime in on that one a little bit. So that was kind of interesting, listening to him talk and some of that stuff. I mean, we got kind of like where we dipped a little bit as we were driving, so it cut out a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I did get to hear most of it, though.
What does he say his kind of purpose is, I guess, in this field? Did he?
I might have missed that, because it, like I said, it stole quite a bit.
Sure. And maybe he didn't talk about it, I don't know.
To help push the spirits through and try to, more or less, if manipulate them in a way, kind of moving on their way to help the situation out.
Gotcha.
But that's my take on it. I think that's what he means by a lot of this stuff that he talks about. But I personally have not really said anything that he talked on.
Okay. I was just
that raises a question for me again. So let's take all of this at face value, and that they can manipulate ghosts to go into the light or whatever, and they do, and they're successful at that, and it's very good. So here's the thing: I want a list of the places.
Hashtag.
Here's the thing. Thank you. Think pause. I want a list of the places they've gone to, because they're not haunted anymore, so I don't have to pay money to go there to a place that isn't haunted anymore because they've been helped to cross. Does that make sense?
And I would suspect he probably does. I don't know, Darren, maybe you know. Does he do more private residences?
No, I think he goes all over.
Does he? Okay.
Not one location, because I think he's been on the bigger locations besides residences.
Okay.
So,
I know he goes to Mineral Springs.
Yeah, and that's a pretty location there in itself.
Yeah.
So, and he does that. I think he joins Mike Rick's sector on those.
Yes. Because they're both of them right there.
And he is the Shadow Man guy.
Yes.
So.
Yes. We talked about him a couple weeks ago. I don't know what episode that was anymore, because I shouldn't say they all run together, but they do a little bit.
Sometimes.
They're the ones that are drinking.
Right.
All right, Darren. I am going to let you go, but I'm so excited that we're doing this.
That was one question?
Yes! Every week!
Man,
he's got to do another one next week.
I just injected adrenaline directly in my heart so I could get going enough to take on an onslaught of questions.
Oh, no. You got that adrenaline for days now. You're good.
We got this man every week coming to join us.
Alrighty. Well,
pretty soon he's going to be...
Does he want one more? I can give him one more.
Yeah, let's do it quick.
All right, let's do it. Bonus question.
On Astral Projection.
Good one.
That is a good one, because I think it's a possible thing.
Impossible or possible?
No, a possible thing. The reason I say that is I'm doing research on my next book that I'll sell 5 of. But it keeps me out of trouble, see, writing them. I have a nice room of my own, so. But the book is near-death experiences, or the NDEs, and a lot of them do the same thing. And what really impressed me is they also have the same character changes. So, it's not, I don't think, it's less prone to the narration that we get from, lots of other things in the paranormal. A lot of people are NDEs, they don't believe in the paranormal till stuff like that happens. So, that their narration of what happened is always the same. And this is kind of a long answer to your question, but when I was doing research, I think the soul is possible, and I'm not saying I believe in one, but things like the soul, spirit, wherever you go when you die, ghosts, if it's possible, it's kind of tied to string theory, where everything in our universe is stuck on a membrane, just a brain. And, so that opens up multiple dimensions. And, if gravity can travel between them, particles can travel between them. So if there is an intelligent singularity when we die, that now suddenly has multiple dimensions to go through, yes, I think it's possible to do it and to stay conscious while you're doing it.
Do you think the movies of Insidious bring that to play, that it matches that what you're talking about, or is that a whole different kind of aspect of it?
Insidious. Remind me, what one was that?
That's where they say that the boy is haunted, and then the dad's got to go into the astral.
Like the haunting and all that. They were all linked. Was that the one where they were linked together or something?
Yeah, and then the old lady.
That's it. I don't know. That's Hollywood. I mean, that adds a narration to something that has been reported for, centuries or millennia even. So we have modern narrations to things that have been reported. You get a screenwriter or a producer, they'll read a book or hear a story and then go, oh, that's a good thing, let's make a movie about it. And then they'll do research and clump everything together and add the spin onto it and the special effects and everything else. So the sad thing is that their narration is then stronger than the traditional narration, and the whole thing just gets screwed up.
Right.
Oh, go ahead. What?
I totally get them on that one.
Yeah. One of my books up there, I can't remember what it's called, but it's
a blue one.
It's not. It's black actually. Like 80% of them.
A black paranormal book. Oh,
yeah,
I've never read it.
But it's
shit, mine's black.
Yeah.
It is. It talks about several cases of demon possession, which I know you don't buy into, and that's fine. But one of the cases actually involves astral projection, and how when you're doing it, you actually open yourself up to that kind of activity as well, which isn't so far-fetched to me either.
I believe in the possession. If astral projection is possible, intelligent singularities are possible, that two could go into one body is possible, must be. But
especially if you're leaving yours.
But when you call it demonic and all that stuff, that's where Hollywood and religion all get smashed together. And
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. But I mean, yeah, if you're leaving your shell, something could jump in.
I mean, has he talked to someone about the astral projection stuff? Because I know a guy on Tuesday nights, Kyle Yates. I don't know if you guys know who he is.
Mm-mm.
He's looked into doing astral projections and stuff like that. So he wanted to talk to you about that if you have more questions about it.
Yeah, I'm going to write down his name. Thank you for that. Is he a podcast too?
Yes, he's on the Paranormal Buzz Radio Network.
Oh.
He does the Into the Pit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I guess I just didn't know the name. Yeah, okay. I appreciate that. I think we will do that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, he's all about that sometimes. But he also likes to learn a lot of whole other stuff too. But that's one he has brought up in his podcasts about astral projection and how much that, he's been trying to do and stuff.
Well, there's so many stories like John said, throughout the ages of people being able to, I think remote viewing could potentially be kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's I can't remember the name of it, but it's in quantum physics. When you observe a particle, it changes.
Entanglement?
There is, but there's also one where, and I can't remember the bloody name of it, you can see another particle by looking at a different particle, and then change them just by observing. It's a whole, I can't remember what it's called now.
Physics
it's not just
so much.
It's not just entanglement. There's an extra layer added on top. But yeah, I'm not a quantum physicist. I read something and go, oh, that's possible, and then I'm like, okay, now go have a drink and a lie down, and you'll get rid of the headache. Just know that it's possible. And if you need to go back and answer someone specifically, go read that bit again.
All right, Darren. Thank you so much for doing this. I am so excited that you're going to be joining us now for these. This is great. And before you know it, you'll probably be a fourth member of the team, and then you'll really regret having agreed to do this. All right, my friend. I'm going to let you go, but we will talk to you next week.
I'm always available.
All right. Have a great rest of your night.
You too.
Right,
see ya.
All right, bye.
Have a good one.
All right. Well, like I mentioned, I got to meet Darren. So did Adam. This past weekend, we were in Ames, Iowa, on the campus of Iowa State for the Ames Psychic and Paranormal Conference. It was okay. It was really slow, this was kind of it's not usually like that. Usually there's quite a bit of people, but the Saturday was a decent day, and there was a couple other things going on in the area, and then Sunday was awful.
Yeah, Sunday was the opposite. It was raining all day, so that was crappy. Nobody would go out in the rain.
Sorry, water.
I know, but you know how people are.
Waterproof.
I mean, Little Red Riding Hood showed up on Sunday.
That is true. There was a girl who had a kind of hooded cloak. It was bright red, like the color of your shirt. Floor length, hood up a little bit. It was interesting. But
you know, if they did cosplay of those things a lot more, I'd go.
Well, and that's a big thing. I mean, people get into that, and she, I would imagine, clearly does as well. But yeah, it was. You get all kinds of these though, and not that
I could wear my stormtrooper armor.
you could.
All right, you're coming to the Cedar Rapids one and wearing your Stormtrooper armor next year.
These are not the psychics we are looking for.
Dear. Plus, it is Halloween season now. I'm so, like, y'all know, we record these ahead of time, but I am so excited that Halloween season is here.
Actually, hang on, how many weeks are we behind? Let's do the temporal math.
Okay, this is what, episode
13. This is unlucky 13.
Baker's dozen.
You know, I have been a guest on 2 different shows independently, and I was their 13th guest. I was Shay's 13th guest, and I was REP Paranormal's 13th guest.
She's a witch! Burn her!
Yep.
So, we're 2 weeks. 2 weeks ahead.
2 weeks.
Which means
This is
tomorrow, by the time you hear this, tomorrow Jason Haxton will be at the Granger House talking about the Dybbuk box.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Is he bringing it with him?
Zach Baggins owns it now.
We can bring Zach.
No,
he cannot.
he can't.
Oh, come on.
No, Zach's not inviting. He can't play. He can't play at our dinner table. No.
Taking my ball and I'm going home.
That's right.
Taking my Dybbuk box and going home.
Yep.
Well, I did talk to Jason this past weekend, and he was randomly in Helsinki.
Yeah.
So,
How do you randomly get to Helsinki? I'm just going to get on a random plane and see where it lands.
that's just not a place that people ever talk about being, but that's where he was. And then he was going to Germany, and I don't know when he's coming back before the 15th.
Oh, Germany, land of the lager. 11.5 years I was there. Trying all their beers.
All of it.
Yep.
So, yes.
Almost makes you wish they'd won the war.
Oh.
No.
Wow.
Too soon?
Yes.
Sorry.
Still too soon, and it will always be too soon.
I'm not really sure how to even feel about what you just said, quite frankly.
It was a joke. That I have to say it's a joke is actually kind of sad. These are the days we're living in, I guess.
So 2 weeks ago, by the time, I'm ignoring John now. 2 weeks, by the time you're hearing this, 2 weeks ago, I posted a story on the Seeking the Paranormal Facebook page about a Tucson man who killed his son while trying to exorcise a demon because he was told that his son did not have a mental illness, instead was possessed by a demon. This is why we need to get that word out of our vocabulary, because people are legitimately losing their lives now. And this is not a single instant. I mean, like, this is happening a lot more now. Now, granted, part of it comes down to the people who are naive enough to believe it and then taking it upon their hands. One thing I saw today, exorcisms are not DIY, folks.
Well, they used to be. You know, Black & Decker drill, make a couple of holes in the head.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they used to.
I know.
They-
And we're past those times.
Well, obviously not.
Well,
It's just easier with a cordless drill
You have to have a plug nearby.
than it is with a flint.
But this is part of the problem with us talking about that all the time, and us.
Be careful with your ass.
the field. I am generalizing because as a whole, I'm sorry, a majority of the people in this field, it feels like, and maybe I'm wrong and I hope I am, but it feels like.
I just read a thing on Facebook today where I had to put a comment in, so it's probably another group I'll get thrown out of.
Yay!
Someone was just asking about ghosts in general, and one guy said, people don't come back. Another post under that said, well, why are you part of this group if you don't believe them?
That is an excellent question.
And his answer is, because what comes back are just demons.
Oh,
it says in the Bible that, blah, 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 and we come back on Judgment Day, so anything coming back is a demon that's trying to trick you. So I had to put in, I still remember, I think, 1 Samuel 28, where Paul talks to the ghost of Samuel.
Yes.
Like, there you go. In the Bible, ghosts do come back.
And don't we worship the Holy Ghost? I mean, not worship is probably not the right word, but...
It's part of the sign of the cross.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, but, the nice thing about atheists is, unless they're a brain surgeon, they've never wanted to drill in people's heads. You can see what you can with a whole lot of them. They don't burn people.
True.
They don't drill people's heads open.
I don't either, as a matter of fact.
I know.
So don't generalize that. Hang on, I'll be right back. I gotta go get the drill. Let's see what's really going on in John's head.
Oh, that could be,
as little as possible.
Right.
Remember the Evil Dead?
Right.
When the milk spews out? I have
Oh my god, we both agree we've seen the Evil Dead before, but we reviewed it last night because October means you need to do 31 horror movies in 31 days.
Yes.
The first one was awesome.
Do you remember that milk spews out of the demons?
Mm-hmm.
It's the most random thing ever.
The best one, though, was the cards. Ace of Spades, 7 of 6.
Yeah.
That was creepier and crap.
Yes. Yes, it
was. There's a demon.
What made me laugh was, at one time, this movie would have scared me.
It did way back when.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's just...
Now it's comedy.
It was.
Honestly.
It's still, the first one, though, had some real creepy.
Yes.
And it had the killer cameraman that used to run through the woods bashing into people and killing them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been remade in, what did I see, like 2017 maybe? We did not rewatch that one. I don't care to, but.
No, I watched some of it and it was.
Sometimes...
Please, Hollywood, stop remaking films. Write some new ones.
I agree. Like, have all the ideas.
They're all gone.
They must be.
Yeah, but they can't. I mean,
like we're making
seriously,
live versions of Disney movies for fuck's sake.
Yeah, they can't all be gone. I mean, like seriously, but I just think it's lazy.
They don't want to take the
right,
risk.
and I think it's lazy. I mean, they do the same thing with music. All of a sudden, everybody's remaking this guy's song and remaking this guy. Come on, just leave it alone. It was fine the way it was.
Sometimes I think of really random things when I'm trying to go to sleep at night, and so one night I did think about the horror movie that I would create. There are gnats in here, and I don't know why. Probably because it's cold and rainy outside, and they're like, hey, let's go in this house.
Because I'd have just drilled it in my
head. they've snuck out.
Those would be flies, not gnats.
Right.
Small hole.
But I have decided, I thought of the horror movie that I would make, and it would involve a night locked in an amusement park. And I had all the ways people were going to die. It was going to be great.
Which night? Sir Lancelot?
Listen, so if I can think up a movie idea, somebody out there can think up an original movie idea. I'm just saying.
I've thought of a few.
Well, another article I did post today came to me from John that I thought was really interesting. Unfortunately, I was a little disappointed when I saw the date that it had come through because I thought there might be some promise for the world.
No.
Do you want to tell us about the article?
I skimmed it. It was, I can't remember which one. Accusing,
Aaron.
Yeah, supposedly got fired because, and then he didn't, but he did whistleblow on Ghost Adventures that producers were making them make their own EVPs, refilm things so that they look shocked at something happening when in really nothing did happen. And as we've discussed before, that's my problem with the TV ghost hunting shows. They do have an agenda, even if the team is on the level. The producers definitely aren't. You know, they've got to make a show and sell, and as bad as the show gets, the next one has to have a little bit more in it, you know.
I believe Paranormal State, from what I've read, chose to cut ties with A&E for a very similar reason, and I'm not so certain that Ghost Hunters didn't go off the air the first time because of that. So this is happening, people. Just another example of please quit taking TV as your guide in this field.
Unless I'm on it.
Okay.
Please do not adjust your set. This man really is that ugly.
Oh my.
But I think that that's pretty telling. Obviously, if Aaron did get fired, he got hired back real quick. I want to try to find that podcast and see if it really exists and make sure the whole article wasn't
made up,
a spoof. Yeah.
Good question, really. My question would be why.
Who knows why people do things anymore?
Oh, it's not anymore. That was 2014.
Well, that's true.
Whole different world then.
That's it.
Was it?
No, that was 2014. Everything on the internet was true.
That's right. It wasn't until 2017
Yeah.
that everything went down.
Oh, is that how that
No, it
worked?
was 2015.
Okay.
But maybe it all started with that article, you know.
It could have. This article was the downfall of the internet. Damn.
Damn you, Al Gore.
Right. Another fun piece of, I don't know if I'd call it news necessarily, but as we talked about last week, when I mistakenly agreed with you, American Hauntings is Troy Taylor's group, and I said that they were one of the ones that are not very good, but I lied because I wasn't thinking properly. His is one that's very good, and in fact, they were scheduled to be out at Edinburgh Manor on October 4th.
I saw that.
Had a big group planned out and went and contacted the owner yesterday, and which yesterday being October 1st, and they accidentally double booked the place and are giving the building to the other person and not to Troy's group. But Troy has had to change, and thankfully they were able to get in on October 25th, which honestly might even be a better date, except that is what, a Thursday? No, it's a Friday, isn't it?
25th?
They'd probably kick someone else out.
I was gonna say.
I know that was fully.
I'll bet she contacted somebody and said, "Hey, would you mind moving it to this? I'll do it." Yeah, that's a Friday.
Oh, well, good for him. So he maybe came out better on that side of the deal, but I was hot for him. I felt really bad for him. Now, I don't know if they still have spots available. I think it was about $66
a ticket.
Yep. But you're going to get to go with people who have been doing this for a long time. They're trained on the history of the building. They're not going to make shit up. And they're not going to overbook it. So if you are interested, and that is one hell of a building, I think any of the three of us would tell you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I said to you when I saw it, I was like, oh, well, our thing at the Granger House is off because I'm going there. But, well, now it's moved. I can do it.
Yeah.
There you go. It's open.
We weren't letting you off.
One thing I wish they do, groups that do that, good, bad, or indifferent, is let you know how many tickets they have for sale. That would make me actually book.
Oh, I understand.
You know,
I can reach out to him and find out, but I agree with you.
But that should be in the,
No, I agree.
You know,
and we try to be pretty upfront because we always tell people we have 20 spots, and once those 20 are full, we're
and that's
done.
it. But once they say limited, you're like, well, how limited?
Right. Because you're right. There are groups that will put limited and then let 50 people in a place the size of Ballista.
Well, and here's the trick with that too. If only 10 people show up, they can tout it saying, see, we only let limited numbers in.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. You know, how do I know that's all you sold or if you're really reducing them?
Yeah. Well, and, nothing against American Hauntings or anybody else who does an event at Edinburgh Manor, because quite frankly, I don't know what my number would be if I were going to do an event there. But God, I'm sitting here thinking about 10 people in that building, and that even seems like too many.
Just because it depends on how you investigate, too. So...
I mean, for me, it would have to be a really guided investigation, but I'm also an EVP person, so that's what I'm looking for.
And also depends on who it's aimed at. I mean, there are a lot of people that want to do it but don't have a group or think about doing it and want to do one. That's fine. Just, people getting their feet wet or whatever. As a class or something like that. But,
I mean, you could probably do like we do at the Granger House, and you could probably do 20. You just have to separate them. Yeah. Separate them by this. Yeah. Definitely by this, at least one floor in between you. So you could, at least have one in the basement, one on the second floor, one on the first floor, one on the third floor. So you could probably do 20.
Is there a third floor?
No.
Okay, so that one.
get them on the roof.
The roof. Yeah.
There's an attic.
Hey,
There's a basement.
there is an attic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's closed off.
Have you been? You've been.
I've been up there.
Yeah, it's closed off.
Because it's just a bunch of fiberglass.
Yeah. And
So,
raccoon poop.
Yeah, people falling through it because there's no boarding up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been up there, but I wasn't supposed to.
No.
I didn't say that. Eddie did.
I don't. Nope. I don't think she honestly would care, quite frankly. But that's kind of a good leeway into our topic. So last week we talked about, kind of getting your group together and getting it rolling.
You have a topic?
I know.
Ooh.
I like to surprise you. See, I'm just full of surprises this week. So we thought we would kind of talk about investigations. Now, I don't know that there's really a right way to do an investigation, but there's definitely a wrong way to do investigations. If you are doing them like Ghost Adventures, you're doing it the wrong way.
No, it depends why you're doing it. My
that wouldn't be an investigation.
No, it wouldn't.
They're not investigating.
No, we're using the word very loosely.
Yes.
That would be, I don't know.
Experience.
Well, yeah, or
something like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what you see on YouTube is experience versus investigating as well.
It's people wandering around and they're not. Because to me, and once again, I'm kind of.
You just stopped yourself. You just stopped yourself from saying, "Here's the thing."
I was changing tack on my thought. Stop laughing at me. It's not very nice. I feel.
You don't hurt his feelings.
I do. I'm really susceptible to this kind of thing.
Oh my goodness!
I'm a very sensitive type of chap.
Oh, Jesus.
If you want to go there, it's like, when you go camping and tell ghost stories as kids or whatever. It's a grown-up version of that. You go there and, especially if you believe in it or leaning towards believing in it, that's fine. You go there, you tell the ghost story, which is whatever the story of the house is, and walk around with a flashlight under your chin, and and that's fine. That's a good time out. And I wouldn't say it's an investigation, but if you go there with a plan of, okay, first thing, is it really haunted? No one ever asks that. They just take that as a given. So you go there, you have a plan, you have experiments or whatever you want to do. Try and get as much phenomena as you can. And I didn't say evidence.
You didn't. Shay was proud of you.
Yeah, you get as many improbable occurrences happening as possible. You come away and try and put it together, and hopefully you go back again, because that's investigating with what you gained before, and try and either build on it or disprove what you have.
The sucky thing is, so many places are so expensive to get in, so you really got to find a place, number one, that hasn't been on TV, because you're never going to get back in there. I for Christ's sake, you guys are having to go on New Year's Eve to Edinburgh to even get in that building.
That's not the price. That's just.
Well, that's what I mean. If it's been on TV, then it's going to be booked ridiculous. Yep. The squirrel cage is out. You can't do an investigation unless you book it. And that's the thing I have with places like Edinburgh. Their calendar ends in December. So last year when we were there,
the calendar wasn't even out yet. I said, we'd like to come back during the summer because we went when it was bloody cold in the winter. But the new calendar wasn't out. She said, there's nothing left in the summer. I'm like, well, how do I even get a chance of booking something if your website hasn't got something on there for me to book?
Well, Troy booked in January, and look what happened to him. So
yeah, but at least he got Friday.
That is, he did. I'm sure somebody was nice enough to give him. And we always joke about how lucky Short Bus Paranormal is because they're always at Edinburgh. Mm-hmm. But then they're doing what you've suggested. They're going back.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing, which...
But isn't that part of it too?
No, it's not what I would do. I would change it up on what we got before to try and either zero in on what we got before or debunk what we got before, if you see what I mean. Mm-hmm. So just doing the same thing over and over. And yeah, we got orbs. We got orbs over here now. And, it's like, okay, do you get anything but orbs? We've got EVPs. Okay, where did you get the EVPs? What were they saying? Well, they're in context. Next time you go there, ask questions to that context. And, you see what I'm trying to say? Yeah. It's you do a follow-on. Yeah, it looks like you may be doing the same thing because there's only so many things we can do, but you try and aim them in a way that, like we're going to be doing to the Granger House, at some point you'll feel comfortable enough where you can draw up a chart of predictions saying, I bet we get this, 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 and this, and even better if you can say when it is and where it is. If you start getting those and you go in and find that you get those and you can't debunk where they're coming from because you've tried it over the last 3 or 4 visits, then then you've got something where next groups come in and say, hey, did you get this? And so that's what I mean. Yeah, it can look like you're doing the same thing again and again and again, but some people really are doing the same thing again and again and again.
Yeah, and
and I'm not knocking it.
I think about, because the way we used to do it, and let me say, when we first started, I think it was just kind of almost how I want to get back to, where we were kind of just going and seeing what we got and reacting to that. Then we started doing kind of, I don't want to say a strict way of doing things, but we did...
Structured.
Okay. We did 5 minutes of quiet time to acclimate yourself to the sounds of the building, which I think is important because you do need to do that. But then we would do, maybe 20 minutes of EVP or 15 minutes of EVP or whatever. And then the remaining time of however long our vigils was set for ghost box session. And we would break, everybody would come together, we'd talk about what we got, and then just keep repeating it. But you're not really, just like you said, you're not really doing anything different in any of that. It's just the same thing.
Well, we've only got a handful of pieces of equipment to use. So I guess what I'm trying to say is when you go the first time and you do what you just described, and you come away, now a lot of the spirit box and EVP you don't get until you start trawling through the data afterwards. And then with that data you say, okay, we got this from this room, or we got a name from here, or a cough, or whatever. And you know what time it was. So then you can go back, and the second time, if you do the same thing again, that's fine, because you still need 2 data points to make a reference. Mm-hmm. But if you start finding out that you're getting things that, data points that, hey, wait a minute, we got that at the same time in this room, or, then you start, or we got answers through the spirit box. What did we get for an answer? Next time you go and do the spirit box, try and formulate your questions more around this subject, because obviously it was enough that you got an answer from it. Maybe if you push it, you'll get another answer that you can then put with the first one you got. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. And I tell you what, when we first started, we took ourselves super serious. So, I had sheets filled out where we would fill out who did what task per setup to make sure everything was taken care of. We would do, temperature, humidity level, phase of the moon, winds, direction. We filled out worksheets for everything that we did, who was present, a little bit about the building, and then I kept a sheet that had the time, everything that happened that was noteworthy. And then I just gradually quit doing that. But as we're sitting here having this conversation,
you should be doing it.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. We've got one. Now, sometimes we're not as good at filling it out as we should be, but it is front and center of what we do. So phases of the moon, I don't think, well, we do it, but we do it afterwards. We go back and look, oh, bugger, we didn't fill that in. Things you can't, but we try and keep it. We don't write it down as much anymore because we've all got the risky things on, the recorders. So we just say it in the wrist recorder and we know when something's happened because as we're going through, 11 o'clock that happened.
But I mean, for going back, and I mean, like you've seen the notebooks that I keep of, my research and stuff. So going back, I can pull one of those notebooks out and I can tell you, hey, every time we go to Edinburgh, this happens. I have that sheet. So we get complacent at some point.
Yeah, we do. And like I say, we've done it. A lot of times like now, we're really itching to go somewhere. We're trying to find somewhere to go. When we get that itchy to go somewhere, that's when we usually let slip. We're so happy to be there, we set up and just go. It's like, woohoo! But, we should, hey, wait a minute, bring it back. And the trouble is with my group, if I don't do it, nobody does it. So, if I've been busy or I'm just like, oh, bugger it, let's just go, then it doesn't get done. So then I find I have to backtrack when I'm getting the data together. Go, oh shit, what was the phase of the moon? Do I even know what the temperature was? Did we measure it?
Speaking of getting to go investigate, this irritated me. So anybody who's listening, don't do this to somebody. So Adam took a call last Thursday.
Oh.
Was it Thursday? Yes.
Yes.
Last Thursday evening from this woman. And let me tell you, she was hysterical. She was crying and frantic because her children said they had seen somebody in the house, a shadow person. And he wonderfully came home and then just handed me the phone with this woman on it that's going berserk. And she just keeps relaying all these different stories and it just keeps going and keeps going. Of course, naturally I tell her, you need to take control of your space and, set some ground rules. Well, she wanted somebody there as soon as possible. So we had an expo last weekend and I knew that Kelly McCarville, Moon Spinner, is usually the person that I reach out to in a situation like that, but she was unavailable. Now, I had forgotten that John had plans, so I thought, well, I'll see if he can reach out to her. Maybe he can go investigate her house. And then what does she do to us? Blows us off.
I changed my plans.
Yes.
Well done, thank you if you're listening, which you probably aren't because you're not one of the three that do.
God, I was irritated though.
Well, then I got people asking me, did you get, was it somebody that
No.
that, that was messing with you? And I'm like, I hope not, because if I find out that they did, they're going to get an earful.
No, she was legitimately crying.
Here's the thing is, like I said to you on the phone, is, first I said no. I'm not a bloody exorcist. We investigate. And then I thought about it and I thought, look, if she really is that hysterical, just having someone go there is a positive thing that may help us. So then we agreed to do it.
I have a feeling she found somebody else. And I hope that they do things right. Unfortunately,
she might just come down from her mouth.
Well, that's true too. There's a lot of groups. It worries me. I know there's a lot of groups who are too much what they see on TV. And so I hope a lot that she found a group that's not like that and that she got people in there that take it seriously and don't, aren't going to tell her to fuck a demon.
I'm going to ask you a question now, and really think about this. What do you think the odds are of all the groups that are out there now that she found someone?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, what do you think the odds are as a percent? Put you on the spot.
You did.
You might be the bad person this week.
I always am.
What? Usually me. You won't believe the hate mail I get.
Oh, what?
You told you won't believe me.
we listened to the Dearly Departed podcast, and they started when they first started their podcast. They did hate mail, and they would read their hate mail, but now all they get is love mail, so they don't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's not as much fun.
I'm gonna guess that they got a group to come in, and I'm gonna guess that this group immediately acted like it was an emergent situation, and I don't know that they're gonna tell her there's a demon there, but I don't know that they're gonna tell her that she just needs to take control of her her space either. I think that the chances are pretty likely that she got somebody in there that I would prefer to not have in my own home.
Well, next time I get one like that, I'm going to turn up with a cordless drill. Go, where are the kids?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kelly was my first, and unfortunately, I don't know any other psychics in the area to have her reach out to.
We interviewed one.
Yeah, the kid that quit. Yeah,
But didn't even show up.
John had it all set up to interview this kid.
No, we interviewed him.
Oh, but then he was going to come
and
investigate.
And we booked the Granger just for,
right.
Because he wanted to go out, and we were like, okay, let's do a field test. We booked the Granger. He had all these roles, and we said, okay, normally we're not interested in psychics. I'm more willing to have a psychic, but just because it's part of the puzzle. But if a psychic operates, is not allowed to taint the other stuff that we're doing, and then we've got to see what he comes up with, so that at least for me it's validated, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that I can mesh your stuff in, but But anyway, yeah, he showed up. We did the interview, and we booked the Granger House. I sent him an email. We got the Granger House, and then nothing. Never got anything back from him. So I think we made. And I mean, we weren't mean to him. You can ask Jeff. I mean, we were nice to him, but we just said, look,
I think that's
we're
really disappointing.
We're objective. And when he left, he said, yeah, that's a good thing. I want to do it. Now he didn't need to say that. He could have said, I don't think you're a good fit for me. That's fine.
But what does it, I mean, regardless of what the reason was, if you're not going to get back to somebody automatically, that looks like you're a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
It just does.
And that's always been my experience with people that say they're psychic. When I ask them to stand on a level footing with me and and I don't mean that I'm higher up. I mean, actually they're bringing themselves down to my level and say, look, let's go in on this and work together, and you do it your way and I'll do it my way, and then we'll match notes. They seem threatened.
Yeah.
And then they back off. And I'm like, well, I'm not really threatening you. I'm not attacking psychics. The only thing I've always said is I've never found one that I found works. And indeed, we still haven't had anybody with a grandfather challenge.
No, not even a guess. In fact, there was somebody on Twitter did forward it to somebody else, and I got it kind of excited. But
so if you're in my shoes, what would you think?
I don't disagree. And that's why I'm excited that Kelly's working with you.
Yeah, and she's a very nice person, and I enjoyed the one session we did. She's doing a seance. I want to go to that. I mean, I'm not totally closed-minded.
I'm excited.
Are you going to that?
14th, right?
Sure.
Is that right? I think that's right. The 14th of this month?
Yeah. Is it,
would be today when you're
Granger.
listening to this.
Is it? I'm going. I'm there right now while you're listening to this. If you never hear from me again.
I believe that's right. Am I right?
No, it's not going to be this one.
No, the 14th is a Monday, so.
Oh, okay.
She will be there previous to us, this show being on.
Okay, so we'll have already been.
Yeah.
I know, this whole time thing screws with me.
Quantum physics, temporal math.
Yes. So.
I'm 3 hours ahead, so if you set your watches right, you're just in time to hear me say goodnight.
Oh my god. That's too much. Okay, so we kind of diverted from our topic.
Like I said, did we have a topic?
I know, right? You wouldn't know it by listening, I'm sure. But I want you two to tell me what you think a good investigation looks like. If I'm just getting started, what advice do you have for me on conducting an investigation?
I think one of the biggest things that you have to do is be aware of where you're going. I think you do, when you start your investigation, we talk about how we always start our vigils, and I think you definitely need to do that. You definitely need to take a few minutes just to sit and be quiet and just listen to what the air conditioner sounds like, what the furnace sounds like, what just the general noises of the house sounds like for at least 5 to 10 minutes. I think you should start every investigation that way, just so you get a feel for things. Obviously, if you start hearing footsteps upstairs, you should probably take note of that. It's just not a general sound of the house, but I'm just saying.
Gandhi and his damn flip-flops.
I know.
I felt bad when we went to Squirrel Cage because I felt like we didn't do a good job of really putting together an investigation solidly. Like, it was just kind of a roaming around in the dark kind of thing.
That was the first time there, which is, I don't know. To me, the first time we go somewhere, it's shotgunning. So, like the Squirrel Cage to me, yeah, we were relaxed, but we were having fun, which is also important. But we were there just to collect what we could. And what we did collect was, the apartment on the top level. We got a lot more activity than we did anywhere else. The ghost feeder only went off up there, which is really weird because the rest of it's metal. Mm-hmm. And it's just a metal detector. Right. And it never went. So,
kick-ass footsteps.
The first one to me, meandering around, doing vigils, I'm not. You're just trying to collect what you can.
Well, I think anytime you go to a place for the first time, you are kind of like, oh, let's try here, because you just don't really know. Second and third time you can kind of narrow it down a little bit more, but definitely.
I know John doesn't like doing history prior to the investigation.
A little bit, but yeah, I try and stay away from the narratives of all the people that have gone after, which is hard anymore because that kind of gets wrapped into the history of the place when they're trying to sell it to a paranormal group. So, the actual history, I don't mind as much. I try and stay away from names, and all there's going to be, as a shadow guy that lives in cell number 4B, that I try and stay away from on the first one. And then once we've done the investigation the first time, then we dig into it and we find these things out. And we're like, well, we didn't see a shadow guy in 4B, so, But if we did, then we're like, oh, there you go. We weren't even looking for him and we found him. And to me, that means a lot more. If you're looking for one, and the more you're looking for something, the more chances are you're going to find it at some point just because it's in your head.
Now, here's a question for you, because this is something that just kind of popped in my head. Say you're going to a location for the very first time that has never been investigated before. Do you want, I know what I want. Do you want people who have had some type of experience in that building to tell you, hey, I saw this?
Yes. If I go to a private investigation, and I'm investigating it for, let's say we go to someone's house and they say, well, there's weird shit going on and we think it's haunted. The first thing we do is actually interview the person, and the questions we have is, why do you think it's haunted? What's making you think it's haunted? Because I need to know these things, because part of what we're supposed to do is debunk them.
Right.
So, and we went on one, oh God, it's in the middle of Boondock Egypt.
That's a new one.
I didn't want to say bumfuck.
Really?
Oh, gosh darn, you made me say it. And it was a farmhouse that was old and it had been added to and everything else. And the guy I know, he said, stuff's going on, can you come look? And we did. And, he had a list, we interviewed him, there's a list of stuff, that we wanted to check out. And, a lot of it we crossed off the list, certain noises and things like that. We figured out, okay, he's got a sump pump. But also when the sump pump ends, he's like, I know what sump pump sounds like. I said, what's that noise after the sump pump? He's like, what noise after the sump pump? And there was a thing going off after the sump pump, and it would make a noise. So I'm guessing if you live in a house where a sump pump is, like, a known noise, you just stop hearing.
Yeah.
I have the trains go by where I live when I first moved in. They're not near, but they're close enough that when I first moved in, they annoyed the crap out of me. Mm-hmm. I don't hear them anymore. But then when my kids from Germany come over, they're like, oh, don't these trains drive you crazy? I'm like, what trains? Mm-hmm. So you kind of stop hearing it.
Yeah. So
if you're hearing the sump pump, and then all of a sudden there's a weird noise, you don't associate it with the sump pump because you didn't really hear the sump pump.
Right.
So
very true.
Things like that, yes. So sorry, long answer to a short question. Yes, for a private one, I want to go. For the circuit places, I don't want to know because there have been so many groups go through there, and so many other groups just add to the narrative, make up their own stuff. They're not investigating their experience, which I said, it's fine, but I don't need that extra fluff added into what I'm trying to do when I go there the first time. For me, that's how it is.
What's your answer?
Oh, exactly the same. I mean, if we're going to, I think we got a few things when we went to the Granger House for the very first time. I mean, I think they told us a few of their experiences, a few of their feelings, maybe a few places of their feelings. Of course, when we first went there to talk to them about doing it, we had our own experience, so that was enough to kind of lead us in a little bit of a direction. But yeah, I completely agree. Like that is one of the instances where you definitely need to get that information. Where do you hear this from? Where do you see this at? When do you see this? When do you hear this type thing? So you hopefully can narrow it down to...
Once again, to reiterate, I mean, if you're first starting, even when you go to a circuit place, don't take it at face value that it's haunted. Most people go there and say, oh, it's haunted, because all these other groups have been there. There's been 50 groups been there, and they all had something. Well, it still doesn't prove it's haunted. I'm sorry, Not disrespecting, but, a lot of people fill in the blanks and they're going there saying it is haunted. You have to go there, and I was definitely that mentality when I went to Squirrel Cage. I was like, is it haunted or not? I mean, I don't know. So, if you attack it like you would the private investigation at first, say, okay, what makes you think it's haunted? Not all the people that have been through and watch all the YouTube videos and all the K2s going off. Actually say to try and get one of the volunteers or one of the history people say, where did the legend of it being haunted come from?
Isn't it funny, the mentality difference we have between a commercial building and a residence? Because you're right. We go in, if somebody privately calls us, like Lady, if we would have gone to her house, I think we all would have walked in and thought, is this place really haunted or not? Mm-hmm. Is this really happening or not? But we go into any commercial building, and I think it's because we've paid that we automatically are like, okay, it's haunted.
I don't necessarily do that. But I know other people in my group do. Like you said, I have people of varying beliefs in our own group. I personally don't do it that way. But you're right. I see that. And it's the same with equipment. Once you pay for something, you're invested in it. So you have that tendency to think it's true or want it to be true because you paid money for it, and nobody likes looking like a sucker. Mm-hmm. So I paid money for this, so I'm not going to come back and tell everybody, no, it just got ripped off $500, which we, I think we did at the Axe Murder House because we got absolutely nothing. And even in places where, I go in thinking it's not, a lot of the places I've been to, you get something. Mm-hmm. That place was deader than a dodo. Nothing. It's just a little tiny house.
That's why it's just, it's...
People swear by it, though.
It's on my list, but honestly, I'm probably more interested in just doing a historical tour of the place than I am investigating.
That's what we ended up doing, though. Well, the ones that stayed awake. That's what we ended up doing, was figuring out how do you murder 6 people without waking the rest up. And we were doing things like trying to creep up the stairs without making a noise and stuff like that. I mean, that's basically what it degenerated into because there was actually
you were crime
scene
investigators.
Basically, yeah. And then, but even then, like I talk about the narrative, the actual murder has got its own narrative now.
Yeah.
Not hauntings. It's like, cigarette butts were found in the basement. Cigarette butts were found in the attic. So we were testing that out. I'm like, wait a minute, that attic is like a really small cupboard thing. And I sat in there. And I'm like, and I smoke. And I'm like, this house is so small. If I ever sat here and smoked 10, 12 cigarettes, there is no way the rest of that house wouldn't stink of cigarettes. Yes. And for people to come in and not notice that someone's been smoking in the attic, I mean, the whole top floor would have been full of smoke. So that's basically what we did. And it was fun. We enjoyed it, kind of. But as far as we didn't get one EVP, we didn't get anything. So
I actually had somebody come up to us at the expo this past weekend, and they were talking about Valeska, and said that they had recently been there. And I asked them what kind of experiences they had, and they said nothing. They said it was boring.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who swear by it. But I think a lot of it is, once again, it's sitting around the campfire with telling stories. You're going to wind yourself up that a creek or a bum is going to be something, and you've invested $500, which is not a small amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
So you're invested in it. Nobody wants to leave and says, I just got ripped off $500. It was a load of crap.
Well, and Adam had some guy who I would suspect probably doesn't believe in the paranormal. I think his wife probably drug him there, but was wondering how the Granger House could be haunted if there was no tragedy involved. So, I mean, we fall into this where because a family was murdered in this house, it has to be haunted.
Yeah, which and my own experiences are places I've investigated so far where I've put a check mark next to them saying, yes, we need to go back. We pick stuff up there. Have always been places where there's been a history of not dying there, but living there, So,
right.
And which goes back to the theory I like best of what dead people are, is that they're kind of half asleep, half dreaming, maybe. So, I dream about nice things or things that I'm used to more than I will about, something else. So, I think places like the Frasco, why would that be haunted? It was a skull.
Well, and then it's funny, too, because then, you talk about the narrative, because then people start making up these stories about terrible things that happened there when in reality they didn't. Mm-hmm. There was never nothing bad happened at Farrar. It was held in high esteem as a really great school, really great staff. Edinburgh Manor. There was never a rape. That's one of the stories they talk about. I mean, none of this, trust me, I have read through the papers. There was never anything like that. Yeah, there were people who, some guy got buried up to his knees because he was lazy and he wasn't helping and he sat outside. And another guy got mad because he didn't feel like he had enough blankets. And the building was probably freezing cold because you think about the time period, early 1900s, and the building being the size that it is, the blankets maybe were needed more. But then we go back to, well, there were rapes happening and people were killed here. None of that's true.
But the building also, they talk about it on the Ghost Adventures episode. The building never housed the incurably insane.
No.
Never one time.
Incurably lazy.
Yes,
or
yes,
the
absolutely.
Incurably drunk.
Right.
Yes.
But never...
Independence
has always been the state mental health facility.
So that's another thing when you're talking about investigations. Do your own historical research.
Yes.
But do it after your first investigation. Do an overview. It used to be a poor farm, then it used to be the mental institute, then it became a retirement home, then it closed. I don't need to know more than that, I'll be honest with you, when I first investigate. Apart from, okay, why is it haunted? And try to stay away as much as you can from. And also, be aware that it's happening. So even when the people, the volunteers are telling you a story, a lot of times they're going, well, we had a group in last week that saw this. Yeah. Just block that. That's not what you need to know. Why was it ever considered haunted at the beginning? Try and get back to that first seed of this is a haunted place.
Now, when and granted, again, my team doesn't really do residentials, and I figured last week was karma coming back at me because I've said so many times, we don't do residentials, and then somebody calls.
I do.
Well, and obviously we aren't going to leave somebody hard up. If that lady had gotten back in touch with us on Friday, we would have been at her house.
Go. I had everything loaded.
Absolutely.
Batteries charged.
Yep.
We're not going to leave people just hanging. So I don't mean that, but I don't actively seek out residentials for us to do. But I usually do look into the history of the building. Do you do that when you do residentials?
No. For me, the residentials are about the people in there right now experiencing something. Because if I start doing the history, then I might start putting ideas in my own head. So I do the interview, what's going on, what is it happening, what happens, and then we investigate it. And we will try and debunk it, because that's part of the job. Mm-hmm. Now, if we can't and we pick up other things, my biggest nightmare is going somewhere, having it really be haunted, crazily, and then they go, what do you think? Like,
yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Or how can you help me?
Yeah.
Well, and that's just the thing. I mean, short of giving you some advice that maybe will just make you feel better, I can't. And we talked about that in one of the panels I was on this past weekend, the paranormal panel. I can't fix this for you. I can't do anything. I can't do anything more than what they could really honestly be doing themselves. I just have more experience of having these types of experiences, I guess. They don't scare me the way they were scaring her.
The only thing that we can do, honestly, and, you know, like, we can get a hold of Kelly, you know, and, well, and the reason I say that is because hopefully that helps.
You gotta find out where the family's belief comes from, though, I think.
I don't disagree with you, but, I mean, okay, fine, you're Catholic, we'll call you priest.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's fine, but
I would go to that priest. I wouldn't have them call.
You would go to their priest?
Yeah. And because if I got that far, I would have something. This is why I'm saying you have to be objective. You can't just go to a priest and say, "Wow, I think there's something bad in there," and he'd be like, "You again?" You know, that kind of thing again. Because being a priest, they must get that just as much as anybody else. But if I'm not Catholic. These people are. Stuff's going on, and I'd actually have something to put in front of him. And I say, look, it doesn't matter what you believe, this is what they're getting, and they need help from you one way or another.
Well, and honestly,
as a placebo or religiously, if you think it really is something, but at least get him involved with something in your hand.
Typically, before a church will get involved, you know, and granted, this is more towards possession and so forth, but typically before a church will really get involved in a situation, they need proof that there's something going on.
Yeah, but they have their own rule book.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, so like your step I think is appropriate because you've been there. You can say, this is what we believe may be happening. Let them go then.
But as an investigator, I think that's your job.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
I'm agreeing with
which is why I don't like people that say they are investigators and they just run in and go, "Oh, K2, oh, demon, oh, shadow person." You know, no, it's not your. That's fine if that's what you want to do, but people like that, if they get called into a private, if they put investigator in their name, and some poor bugger is having something going on in their house, they go, "Oh, they're investigators, call them in," which is my question to you earlier, that woman. What do you really think the percentage of chance is that she found someone that's an investigator? So,
Slim.
Very slim.
That's my problem with. I got nothing against people going ghost hunting and having fun and all this thing. But, you know, if you put it in your mind of, if you're doing this, you go to a house and you actually encounter a haunting, what are you going to do? Now, you might believe all kinds of things. But the chance of it being true without any kind of objective anything in your hand, you know, you've got to fall back on the family because it's their house, their future, their kids live there. Now, they're in control of what happens next. So you've got to ask them, you know, and you can say, okay, sage will help you. Okay, so burn sage. Well, why
She did ask me that too. She asked me if she should sage. And I told her, honestly, all that is putting out an intention. And it's the same thing as you saying, this is my space. You don't get to do this. I think they're the same thing. It's just your manner of doing it.
So what happens if the sage doesn't work?
Step 2.
Which is why, if you're putting out an intention, it has to come from the family. It's got to be the family's intention.
Yeah. So
if they're Catholic, it's got to be a priest. If they are spiritual, the sage will probably work. If they are, you see what I'm trying to say? If you're going to, and let's say, if I'm going to be skeptical about all of them, I say, all right, it's a placebo effect. But the placebo's not going to work unless you believe you're getting the real thing. So whatever it is you believe in, make sure that's what you get, and then it'll work.
Who knows? Maybe she saged her house and felt good about it, and that's why she didn't return our phone calls.
You know what, though?
You have no idea.
What if she was a Satanist, went out and just sacrificed a virgin on a coffee table?
Well,
that worked.
Hey, I guess if it worked for her, sorry for the virgin.
Good luck finding a virgin in Iowa.
Wow. Wow.
Sorry,
that was too far.
lightning. Oh, again? Gosh darn it.
Aren't we always?
You people need to tell me.
So we didn't talk a lot about the actual investigation, and that's fine because I think this has been a really good conversation anyway.
We
What-
hit the main points, though.
Yeah. Here I'm looking for advice. I know it's amazing I'm asking the two of you, but
We're the greatest people to ask.
okay.
Let's figure out what she believes in placebo.
This kind of goes towards the groups too. So if you have somebody on your team and end up having a lot of problems with that person and end up going your separate ways, and then another team picks that person up, are you obligated to tell that other team, hey, this was my experience, just be careful?
Did they ask me?
No.
Then no.
Okay.
Because the problem might have been me.
No,
Or partly.
let's say this person, because of their actions, you were actually asked not to return to places, and
Yeah, I still wouldn't tell other groups.
Okay.
Not unasked. I mean,
Okay.
if this is just me, if you are, unless it's like a life or death situation, like a surgeon's like totally drunk before he operates or something like that. But I won't offer negatives unless either, there's something where. So if he wants to join another group, and he does, I'm not going to run around because then even if they kick him out, he's going to go to another group. I'm going to have to run behind him again.
well, that's true. I at first thought that it would be the nice thing to do, but now I'm kind of going towards that way.
I
You're
thought
not
a lot
kicking me out,
about.
are you?
No,
He says horrible things on podcasts. Don't take him.
I actually thought a lot about this today. Actually,
Wait a minute, you've already got my replacement earlier, too. You play your cards right, you
yes.
what you get for messing around.
Did
John.
you say there'll be 3 of us or 4 of us?
I
can't
said
remember now.
4.
No, I actually did think quite a bit about this today, just because it was on my mind. If we hear of any bad reports via word of mouth from other people of something that maybe happened, then I think we can reach out and say, hey, I heard this, maybe a rumor, may not be, but here's my experience. Take it for what it's worth. If they were to reach out or post anything anywhere about, hey, what do you think of this person? Or, because I know you did that about in particular people reached out to...
Same person. And actually, when we were told the truth,
Right.
we took his word and discounted
Yes,
it.
we didn't listen either, and that was
Which
dumb
is-
on our part.
Which is the other edge of the sword. If
Yeah.
you're like, oh, that guy's needs you. They're like, oh, you're another group. You're just
Right, and that's just, you're jealous.
Yeah.
No. So I think we know enough people that know these people that we should have somebody say something to us at some point, and then I think we act on it then. But right now, if you were just to reach out currently, right now, you look vindictive, and that's not going to go over well at all. Because-
offering, like I say, unless it's something really important, offering bad things to people, out of the blue or whatever. I'm not. I wear blinders through life. I this is what I do. If something happens, drama, whatever, that person leaves orbit. I'm still looking forward. Right, when's the next investigation? Really, I don't care what that person does anymore.
I hate to see anybody have to repeat what we've gone through, but no, I don't disagree necessarily. And I pretty much decided not to, but I thought it would be worth discussion.
Well,
Let's get
don't think
some
of it as a
input.
negative. It's positive. Because this
Well-
other group, if they get that person and the same thing happens, they will have had the learning experience that you had. That's
Well,
a
and I
positive
think-
thing.
I mean, honestly, like I said, I thought about this today, and
They
I
don't
think
cut their throats or anything stupid.
No,
No.
everybody's going to survive.
I think I think our reputation has moved forward just fine, and we've been able to smooth over the things that were messed up for us fairly well and actually come out probably on top.
Wish I had a reputation.
On all of that. You do, actually.
All right, I wish I didn't have a reputation the way you said that.
I was going to say, I never said it was a good one.
I have no one.
You know, and I will say this weekend, because the fact that another group had started investigating with him was brought to my attention by somebody at the expo, and in talking to a few of the other people that were at the expo and also are investigators, this really is a small community. You know, like it feels like there's just a lot of us, but God, everybody knows everybody, and there's so much drama. It's crazy.
I know.
Crazy.
I kind of, like I said, I am not a social person, so you know, I don't. People do this. I mean, they'll go, oh, you know, and they name drop. I have no idea who you're talking about. And honestly, I don't find that a bad thing. I mean, if I meet a chap and I like them and we talk, then I'll know your name. But you know, I don't go out there, you know, gathering names so I can spit back out at people. Some people do that, you know, to give themselves validation or whatever. And I know a couple like that where they'll get in and they've got all the names, you know, and everything. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. It's just, you know, that's nothing that I've ever personally done.
Yeah, there's so much like one-upping and just, it's just,
I don't.
And don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really great people in this community, and you know, I'm happy to be a part of it, but I'm kind of the same way. You know, people will be like, oh, you know, so and so, and honestly, I feel really ignorant a lot of times because I'm like, I don't, but I'm kind of the same way.
There's going to be noise because I'm taking my jacket off and getting off.
Okay.
I was outside smoking and it was raining. And, oh my God, I'm letting all the body odor out. You poor people.
Well, while you are doing that, let's get to our picture of the week. And actually, instead of doing a picture, we're going to do a video. And this was...
We can do videos? Nobody ever told me that.
No, and it's going to be on my computer screen, so you guys are going to have to check it out here. This was brought to us by Miss Felicia Pittman.
Uh-oh.
I don't know who that is, and I'm good.
We just name dropped.
So, I know.
We just name dropped.
And I can tear this apart now, and I don't know who you are, so I won't tell that.
So Felicia's husband, Coy, was on...
Don't know him either.
Was on REP Paranormal. We know them from the Haunted American Conference. And then they were listening to us when we were on Shays. So you've had a little bit of interaction. Anyway,
That's one-way interaction. That doesn't count.
Okay. Anyway, she's a friend of mine. They're really great people, and actually they have their own podcast. It's called Darkness.
No, Until Dawn.
Jesus. It's called Until Dawn. Listen to it because it's really great, and they talk about some really interesting stuff, and we love them. So she brought this to my attention actually this morning, and so I thought we would use this. Now this was posted by, let me get the group on here so I don't misrepresent anything.
What, like the name of the podcast?
Yes. That I'm a super good friend. So this is, the name of the group is the Haunted 1889.
You know we're live, showing me that picture. Showing me pictures like that while we're live.
What did you just show me?
Just a picture.
It was.
Jesus Christ. It's like children. No,
there were no children involved.
It's the Haunted 1889 McIntyre Villa, and unfortunately I don't know much about it or where that's at, but that is where this comes from. They're got a page on Facebook. So it appears that this is a Nest camera, so I assume that's just a security camera within the home. It looks like it's a private residence based on the way it's decorated. So I'm going to push play.
I'm seeing a tree shadow.
Well, let me show you. This is the outside of the house.
You're going to have to post that too, though.
Yeah, I will. And the circled window is the window that this is showing up in. So it's a second-story window, no trees.
Okay, try it again. I'm sorry, that's a car headlight taking a turn, and the car headlights are shining through trees.
There's no trees.
Well, there is somewhere.
There are no
trees.
That's,
Just showed it to me.
I know, but that's still well. All right, if it's not trees, what is it?
I don't know. Felicia and I both agreed it looks fake as hell, but we cannot for life of us figure out what it is. Because I feel
it's a different bloody window.
I completely agree with him. Because...
Look at it.
But why does it go two ways?
Because the car's coming
car's
up
turning
and then
around.
turning.
I completely agree with the car driving through somewhere.
And
because it could go around.
Well, okay, about the angle, it doesn't have to be a tree. It could be that bush right there. If the angle's right, he's going to come up, the light's going to hit that bush, hit that window, and then as he's turning.
Completely agree.
A bush making a shadow on the second floor.
Why not?
Why not? Well, the light hits there, therefore the holes in the light, which are the shadow, hit the window too.
Okay. I disagree with your conclusion, but I am not saying it's paranormal. I had thought that maybe it was something being projected, but if it was being projected, I feel like it would be at an angle.
Yeah, car light down here, push in the front, at an
No,
angle.
I mean like somebody, like we've got the...
Oh, like a projector
FX,
projecting
yeah.
image of...
Is it one they took? One they found?
I had tried to see if I could find out why they would have a Nest camera in this room at this angle, because that also didn't make sense to me and also makes me think that it's fake, because
You'd be trying to catch the whole room.
it's a very small space. It doesn't make any sense to me.
You're not really on a door or anything that you would see someone come in. Nobody's going to break in the second story window.
So I do find those things very suspicious.
They take it or one they found?
They found it on their security camera.
Okay.
But like I said, the fact that we've got a security camera with just this amount on it is weird to me. Like, that doesn't make sense.
So they placed the security camera.
Yes.
You see where you're going with this right now, don't you?
Yeah, I didn't say it was paranormal.
No, you said, I think it's fake, but they placed the
No, I said I
security
think
camera.
it's fake, but I don't know what it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is what I said.
All right.
So you mean it's faked?
Well,
Someone set the camera on
that
purpose to
usually
fake
is
it.
fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am not opposed to that either.
I don't know if it's fake or not, but I do know. I mean, I'm trying to get to the how is that light and the shadow there. I don't care if somebody did that on purpose or. But to me, that's what that looks like. If you look at any film of a car driving past, and it's either a bush or a tree. Now, if there really is no tree outside of that window, because we're taking it on faith, that's the window. But let's say, there's bushes down there, and if there's a gravel driveway down there coming up a hill, that car's coming up and turning around, the light's going to hit. If the lights hit, the shadow's going to hit. And as it's turning around, you're going to get that.
So I want to read. So obviously there's a lot of comments with the video of what people think it is. And one of the people who commented said, I know this sounds crazy, but this seems to me to be of someone being pulled or wheeled back to the window as if they are sitting in a wheelchair, and they look in and then they are being pushed forward. It even looks like someone is pushing them forward.
What?
So basically she thinks it's a ghost in a wheelchair being pushed. They look in the window and then they go back.
No.
Seriously, that is exactly...
That's induced pareidolia.
Yeah.
Something.
Eesh.
No, I saw that, why they think that, but if you take that in context, why would a ghost be being pushed in a wheelchair on the outside on a second story, if that's where it is?
So she later said, I'm thinking it's definitely a spirit or two, with the video showing no headlights shining on the house and no trees anywhere near there. What else could it be?
A bush in a gravel driveway? I mean...
Like I said, I don't think it's paranormal.
No.
It looks very fake to me. I'm not sure what it is.
I'm not sure fake's the right.
I don't agree with your headlight
Mistaken.
theory.
Yeah.
I think it's fake.
Well, fake implies that somebody purposely did it.
Yes, that is what I'm implying.
Okay.
That's why earlier
I'm saying that there's a possibility that it's mistaken.
If I was going to fake something, though, I'd fake something a lot better.
But I will agree with you when I say, why is that camera pointed like that? If I'm setting up security in my house, I'm not going to point my camera at the corner of a room at one window. I'm going to encompass the entire room.
Yeah, but, I mean,
and the doorway.
We like to think we're capable investigators. There are some out there that aren't as capable. Or some that say, okay, if something's going to be haunted in this room, it's going to be that bookshelf.
No, I don't think this isn't from an investigation, correct?
No.
This is just from this building's security camera system.
Okay, so
So that makes sense, though. If that's the only entrance or egress from their room, to have a security camera pointing out a window.
So here is, somebody suggested it might be car headlights. This is what the homeowner then posted, said this is the video from outside at the exact same time.
So?
I'm telling you what they said, their response was to the car light theory.
But I would like to know, number one, like what's on the other side of those trees that's next to the building. Is there another driveway that someone could drive around in and be hitting? I don't know, but I'd have to look at the whole picture of a
Okay, I could say, yay, it's a ghost. We have now finally confirmation that ghosts exist. It's never going to happen from a video like this. It doesn't matter what you believe, but there's too many other things it could be. And I don't think it is a ghost, but, that's the point of it is you need better evidence than that,
Yeah.
And when I say evidence, I mean, even, like, some of the stuff we've captured where I'm like, I have no clue what it is, and I'm picky as crap. I'm never going to say that's evidence of a ghost. I'm just saying, okay, that's more one on the pile of things that I can't explain.
Right.
In a place where things that you can't explain seem to happen a lot.
Correct.
So there are a lot of people making a lot of suggestions, most of which you've either got the ones who are straight paranormal or a lot of people feeling like it is car headlights. One female did suggest that it could be steam from a vent pipe. The homeowner said there's no pipes out there though. So, it's a mystery of this.
Leave your comments. We should do a live show.
We've been asked to.
Have we?
Mm-hmm.
When did that happen?
Well, Darren has asked us, and somebody else had asked us at one point. I forget who, but I've had that conversation before.
We should do, what are we on now, 13?
Mm-hmm.
So pick a number, we'll do a special anniversary live show.
All right.
And see how many people jump in.
Yeah.
If there's only 2 or 3 people.
I'll talk to Shay, and we'll get it set up and see if we can do that. So, but if we're going to do that, people, you better...
show up.
Yes.
All 3 of you. All 3 of you need to be there.
Invite people that don't know. Just say it's a special live event with Bruce Springsteen or something.
Oh my God.
I'll sing.
Oh, dear.
Baby, I was born to drink.
Yeah, I was going to say, now you guys are all in trouble.
Oh, wow.
All right. Well, we will leave it at that for this episode. If you want to check out John, any of his investigation footage, anything like that, you can find him on Facebook at WTF Investigations. Their website is WTFinvestigations.com.
I mean, if you just go to the webpage, there's a link there to either a YouTube channel or a Facebook page. Both of them are definitely guaranteed to disappoint.
Oh my God, shut up.
But I'll let you make up your own minds about that.
Whatever. You can find all 3 of us, of course, on Facebook and Twitter at Seeking the Paranormal. I'm on Facebook at See Paranormal Sarah. And then we also are putting together our Goodreads account. And so you can find information about that on our Facebook as well. So.
And I got a book.
Yes! Gosh! Dang it! I almost forgot!
You almost didn't
How can
mention
you
John's
forget?
book.
I know.
I mention it every 10 minutes. Well, in my book, I like to write about...
It's like the train. You can just quit hearing stuff. Yes, John
All
does
3
have a
people
book.
that listen to this are going to buy your book.
I hope so.
You just made like 75 cents.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Look on Amazon
Almost paid for my
for
Bacardi tonight.
Leaps of Faith. right? Leaps of Faith.
Look,
But the author, you've got your initials.
yeah,
What is it?
It's Leaps of Faith, Ghost Hunting, and Objectivity. If you type that in, you'll probably find it, and author is J.M. Black.
Yes. And then we've, of course, got links to it on both Facebook and Twitter. So go by that.
Please, I'm running out of booze. I don't mind sleeping under the bridge, but it's getting cold now.
Oh my God. All right. On that note, my friends, have a great rest of your night and keep seeking out the paranormal. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening, and be sure to follow Seeking the Paranormal on Facebook at Seeking the Paranormal, and also on Twitter at Seeking the P.